Okay, now we are going to figure out the carbs, proteins, and fats, the macronutrients, based on the total caloric intake that you calculated with me using that last video. If you missed that last video, here's kind of a review. This is the number I'm going to be using for my female subject, 150 pounds, 68 kilograms, who is moderately active. Her total energy expenditure, was 2,585 calories. We put her at a 350 calorie deficit because she does want to lose weight. That's going to be 2,235 calories. This is the number that we are going to be using to figure out those macros with. If you would like to go back and find that video, calculate your own number, and then come back to this video to calculate your macros, please do so. Okay, so let's get started. Here we have what is recommended by the AMDR for fat, carb, and protein intake. 20 to 35% of your calories coming from fat, 45 to 65 coming from carbs, 10 to 35 coming from protein. The RDA does recommend a different intake for protein. It's going to be 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight. I prefer using the body weight to figure out the protein intake. I do, however, suggest a higher intake than this. The reason is protein is so important, especially when you are losing weight. You don't want to be losing lean mass, right? We want to keep on that quality lean mass and try, if we can, to get rid of as much fat mass as possible. If our protein intake is too low, that's going to be really hard to do. So my suggestion and the way that I'm going to calculate this is going to be with a higher protein intake. I am going to use not 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, but 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, okay? So we're going to start with protein. So we've already figured out the subject is 68 kilograms, 150 pounds, 68 kilograms. So to figure out that protein intake, we're going to take 68 times 1.5. And again, we are doing 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Okay, that's what that is. And that's going to give us 102 grams of protein. So this number is just straight up grams of protein. Okay, that's how you'll look at it. But we do have to figure out what percent of our total calories this number is. So this is how we're going to do that. Every gram of protein is 4 calories. Okay, so we're going to multiply this 102 grams of protein by 4 to figure out how many calories it is. That is 408. And then we also have to figure out what percentage this is of our total calories, okay, because we're going to use that later when we're figuring out our percentages for carbs and fats. So we're going to take 408 and we're going to divide it by the total calories, which is 2,235. That's going to give us 18%, and I am rounding down to 18. 18, yeah. Okay, and then if we come back up here, you'll notice that does fall within this range, kind of towards the low end of this range, actually. But like I said, I do prefer using the body weight to figure out protein. It's just more personal based on the subject that you're dealing with. So that's our protein, is 102 grams of protein. That's 18% of our total caloric intake. So we have a remaining, this is embarrassing that I need my calculator for this. Oh my goodness, and I did the wrong thing. We have a remaining 82% to play around with. Let's do carbs next, okay? We have a moderately active subject. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you're at least moderately active yourself. We need carbs, okay? Carbs are your body's main source of energy. They are not the enemy. You don't want to be eating too few carbs when you're trying to lose weight, okay? Especially if you're exercising alongside of it. So we have a recommendation of between 45 and 65%. Let's go with 50% of our intake will be of carbs. Okay, how do we figure that out? Well, we're going to take 50% of our total intake, 2,235 is our total intake, 50%, so divided by 2, that's going to give us 1,100, and I'm rounding up to 18 calories. This is carbs right here, 50%. This is how many calories that gives me. And then every gram of carbs is also 4 calories. So to figure out how many grams of carbs this translates to, all I have to do is divide this number by 4. And that's going to give me, and I'm going to round, 280 grams of carbs. Okay, 50% equals this many calories equals this many carbs. So now we've got 68% spoken for, and that actually leaves us a whole lot for our fats. 32. That leaves us 32% for fats, and honestly, that's a little bit on the high end. And this is a very play around with it sort of process. I'm getting to this point for my subject, and I'm honestly thinking, that's a little bit high for fats. Where do I want to adjust? Okay, and I do want to adjust. I don't really want to go with a 32% intake for fat. So this is what I'm going to do. I am going to do a little bit more protein. I'm going to leave my carbs at 50%, but I'm going to up that protein intake, okay? Let's up that protein intake from 102 grams to 150 grams, okay? And let's see what that does to my numbers. So again, that is grams of protein. So I have to, 150, I have to multiply that number by 4 to figure out how many calories it is. That's 600 calories. Then I have to divide that number by my total calories to get the percent. And that brings us, instead of 18%, to 27%. Okay, so now, with that adjustment that I just made, is right here, instead of 102 grams, 150. Now, 77% of my total calories are spoken for. So now I'm working with 23% for fat, and that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable for my subject, closer to the low end. If you want to go check out my blog, I did actually just recently do a post about keto diets, but in it, I did also include some literature that suggests for losing weight but maintaining lean mass, you want to uptick your protein and kind of keep your fats on the low end. You don't want to completely eliminate or eat too few fats, but you want to kind of lower that number a little bit. So this is perfect for me. I got a higher end of protein, a lower end of fats, okay? So what did that leave me with? 23% for my fats. And like we did for the carbs, we have to figure out how many calories that is first. So our total calories are 2,235 times that 23%. That's going to give me 514 calories. And check this out. Carbs and protein were for 1 gram of carb and protein equals 4 calories. 1 gram of fat equals 9 calories. That shit is dense. So we are going to take this number, this 514 calories, to figure out how many grams of fat that is. We're going to divide it by 9. And that's going to give us, and I'm rounding down, 57 grams of fat. Okay. So let's look at this all together. 23%, 50%, 27%. Okay, we got our carbs, our fats, our proteins. Here are the actual grams for those numbers. Now, when I add up my percentages, I should get to an even 100. So 50, 23, 27, yes. Now, because we did a little bit of rounding, I rounded up, I rounded down just to make it easier. When I add up the actual calories, it might not come to exactly 2,235, but it should get damn close. So let's see what we get. 514 calories for my 57 grams of fat. 1,118 calories for my 280 grams of carbs, and then 600 calories for my 150 grams of protein. That gives me 2,232. So yes, I got pretty damn close. If you want to adjust here and there a little bit for those 3 calories, you can. I don't think it's that important. Okay, so some things that I want to review about this specifically that apply not only to my female 150-pound subject here, but really to everybody. and I did talk about this a little in my last video, the caloric deficit that I put my subject at was 350 calories. She wants to lose weight, so sure, yes, we're going to eat less than the total expenditure, but I'm not going to go all the way to that 500 calorie deficit just yet. That is because she is moderately active. I want to leave some wiggle room for that physical activity. I want to allow the body to continue working properly and effectively metabolically, so I want to eat enough. Okay, you'll notice that I did not severely restrict any of the macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins. I didn't say, oh, we're not going to eat any fats, we're going to eat only protein, whatever. I want an even spread. It's not going to be completely even, but it is going to be even as based on these recommendations, okay? We're not going to take any of these and make them extremely low because your body needs fats, it needs carbs, it needs proteins. What we did do though, and this is going to be based off of that literature from my most recent keto blog, is we upticked the protein and we brought the fats down just a little bit, okay? So we didn't leave these suggested ranges, we're just on the low and the high ends respectively, okay? That is to help maintain lean muscle mass and maybe even build some, if possible, while we are helping the subject lose weight, okay? Hopefully that weight is coming off as fat mass. That's the idea. That's the goal. So I'll just hold this up again. Here are, maybe I can make it a little bit prettier, but here are circled are the percentages. Then we have the actual calories, and then what matters to you, what you're actually eating, the grams of protein, the grams of carbs, and the grams of fat per day. All right, hope that was helpful. Any questions, leave them in the comments.